They say the best time to invest in property was yesterday. The second best time is when you know where the opportunities are headed. Uganda's real estate market is changing. New roads are opening up investment corridors. Cities are expanding beyond their traditional boundaries. And industries from oil and gas to manufacturing are reshaping where value is created. Yet while some investors are making informed strategic decisions, others are still relying on speculation and missing the next wave of growth. Property 360 goes beyond the headlines to uncover where Uganda's smartest property investments are emerging. My name is Wilberforce Nsamba, your property oracle. Thank you for joining us.
Brought to you by Palmarina Estates, Garuga, where luxury meets lifestyle by the water.
What if the house you built didn't trap your life savings but moved with you? This week on Property 360, we discover a revolutionary way of building that's challenging everything we know about construction. A home with 95% material recovery, built faster, stronger, and with more conventional methods.
From the experience we've had in the field, we just disassemble and remove the wall. And all the numbers we get from the field, we are achieving over 95% recoverability.
Is this the future of affordable housing in Uganda, or is it simply too good to be true?
The only difference that we have done is that we are reducing how much mortar you are putting between the two blocks.
Before you spend millions on your next building, watch this episode. It could completely change the way you think about building. We buy land, dump truckloads of sand and cement, and lock our life savings permanently into the dirt. It's the traditional Ugandan dream. But the moment that mortar dries, your money becomes a sunk cost. If your life changes, you can't liquidate a brick wall. But what if your home behaved like a liquid asset? Today on Dream Spaces, we're in Kitukutwe at the Tafari Engineering, where housing is shifting from a financial dead end into a flexible plug and play reality. This is the modular intelligence. By replacing wet mortar with a brilliant mechanical interlocking layout, Tafari completely rewrites the rules of building. The blocks auto-lock on the X and the Y axis, while the natural gravity secures the Z axis. Want to expand, remodel, or entirely relocate your house? You don't use a sledgehammer. You simply unclip your investment. We are talking about a massive 95% material recovery rate. Let's look at the hard numbers. Standard hollow blocks give you up to 5.5 MPa of strength. These hit a solid 6.5 MPa. Because the design auto centers, wall construction time drops by over 50%. Material waste plunges from the usual 15% down to less than 2%. The bottom line, a hard 45% financial saving per square meter. Brian, this technology looks incredible. Yes. But when a Ugandan sees this brick, they say, how do they interlock together without our usual coat of plaster? But we know the Ugandan rains, they can be aggressive in a typical rainy season. How do you ensure that there is no water seepage through those joints on a very rainy day, and to ensure that there is no dampness in one sitting room?
So when you construct with the blocks, you have two options. The first option is when you're done with constructing, you put what they call pointing, where you can add a skim of a plaster skim that protects the dampness.
The joints.
Yes. No, it protects the it protects the water, because a plaster layer is basically like a thick layer of covering, wrapping up the wall. Okay. But also when we put those, when we are done constructing, we go putting in mortar in the lines of whatever, which they call pointing. That stops also water from going in. Then if you don't want to put a big thick layer of plaster, you put, there's what we used to call good mara, or
Yes,
when you spray the mortar on. If you spray it on, as you spray it on, it will go inside those joints and create a seal. And then you put like a waterproof skim on top, just a small layer to avoid the water from getting through to the other side of the wall.
But let's get practical. If I have a 1-bedroom cottage and I want to take it to my village, how easy is it to dismantle this house, move it without losing 95% of my brickwork?
So, first of all, we go back to the interlockingness.
Yes.
Okay? Now, when you are disassembling the blocks, you have to start from the top. You cannot do it from the middle because that mortar in between, the slurry in between, it does what? It has friction enough that it resists any movement. Now, when it resists that movement, it's in the X and the Y direction, and then the weight of the block closes it in the Z direction. Also, the friction between the collar and the female creates enough friction that the block will not move anywhere. But when you come to disassemble, you get like a pole or a wooden pole, and you put it in one of the holes. You put it like this is the block. You put it in one of the holes, and then you'd bump the block. So when you bump the block, it shifts like this, which you cannot do with the wall that is like this. So when it shifts like this, it breaks this link or the grip that is holding it onto the collar, and then the block comes off. In my opinion, a construction shouldn't be a sunk cost. It should be a recoverable asset.
When you want to, should be flexible.
Exactly. And if you're building for the low-cost people who are not going to buy land where they're staying, they're going to lease the land, they cannot get their investment, even if it's 10 million, even if it's 5 million, even if it's so how cheap, and put it in somebody else's land. But they will put this in somebody else's land, and then later, they've bought their own land or they've done something, then we can disassemble and move the house. The reason why we say over 95%, because in reality, you'll have some damage. But from the experience we've had in the field, where like we are building for somebody, and then they say, oh, I want the wall to move here or here. After we've built it, we just disassemble and remove the wall. And all the numbers we get from the field, we are achieving over 95% recoverability. Interlocking blocks are being used in Uganda everywhere, and they perform excellently. Now, when it comes to the approvals of permits, we've not had any issues because they are using the same blocks as we are using. In fact, these blocks are better than using the small blocks that are made out of earth or clay. Most times, because first of all, you're sure of the quality. It's cement mixed with stone dust, just like all these other concrete blocks. The only difference that we have done is that we are reducing how much mortar you are putting between the two blocks. By reducing how much cement you're using, you're reducing sand, you're reducing logistics, which is the transport, you're reducing the water used, you're reducing labor. All this come down by over 50%, labor and logistics. What you would build in maybe a week with the normal blocks, ours you're doing about 2 to 3 days.
So it reduces time, cost, sustainability, labor, but also recoverability.
And the biggest thing is that the biggest thing that we're trying to achieve is efficiency. We need to be more efficient in our construction, and our efficiency is killed by the wet mortar process because we are using a lot of wet mortar to construct. What makes our homes affordable, or like the 2-bedroom house, you're talking about the one in our catalog, that's 45 million shillings. Of that 45 million shillings, about 40%, 35 to 40%, 18 million, all the way up to 20, is the structure itself. The foundation, yes, the foundation, the superstructure, and the roof. Or I'd say in Muluganda, they would say musingi, ebisenge, nokusereka. Now that is the structure, and that structure determines a lot the cost also of the finishing. Finishes, we all know in Uganda finishing is about 2.5 the costs of constructing the structure. Okay, but what we have done with the finishing is, because now we have fair walls with our blocks, first of all, you're going to put that scheme. Instead of putting plaster that's going to cost you an arm and a leg, you're going to put a scheme to just protect the walls so water doesn't enter. That's the first thing. The second thing, we are doing modular, like the floors are built out of modular. We are not doing the floors the way where you cast and everything. No, we have what they call concrete floor tiles. If you do LPV tiles, which are waterproof, they will last, are much safer for somebody, and then later we can use them, we can disassemble the house and use them. That's the 45 million shilling house. It is built in a very simple manner. Our approach in Tafari Engineering is to provide affordable housing, low-cost affordable. You are not going to do low-cost affordable when you want to put Spanish tiles.
When you want to use the same old materials.
Exactly. You are not going to do affordable if you want to build 300mm thick walls.
Yeah.
We are not against people building the way they want. If you have the money, go ahead and explore what you want to explore. But you can build a house with mud, you can build a house with concrete, you can build a house with wood. Yeah. All those houses serve one purpose, it's shelter.
Innovation isn't just about building something new. It's about breaking down the old, expensive ways of thinking. A home should be an asset that grows with you, not a financial prison. Thanks for watching. Keep dreaming, build smart, and I'll see you shortly after this break.